Welcome back to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam Hind, and I am really excited to talk to you today about a topic that is very close to my heart. Close to my heart because I'm going to talk you through something that has been a huge challenge for myself in business over the last 6 years. This has actually been something that's been a huge challenge for me my entire life, but specifically since I have been running a business, I have seen this beast take hold of my life. And I'm going to use the A word here, one that I know many of you will be very familiar with. I'm going to rip off a bit of a Band-Aid and go a little bit raw today, and I'm going to talk to you about anxiety. Now, the reason I want to talk about this today is because as we move into this new year that is 2021, I've been hearing so many people talk about how they feel that this year is all going to be different. It's going to change. Everything's going to be different because we simply had a New Year's Eve. We ticked over into a new year, and there seems to be this idea or concept that the world is going to be a different place. Now, it's on my heart to put it out there right now that I don't believe that if we don't change ourselves, we're going to see anything different. And I think you will know that deep down. But what are we doing differently this year to make it different? I know anxiety has been a huge problem for so many people, but most importantly, it's been a really big deal for people who are in business, whether you have got a tiny little business that you've just started out, whether you're a leader in direct selling, whether you've got a business of any shape or form right now, you have gone through some form of pressure and stress. Maybe it's because you've had to adapt, you've had to pivot. Maybe it's because you've taken a big financial hit. It could be any of those things or many, many more. But what I want to put out there right now is that I feel that we're all in very much so the same boat when it comes to how we handle those stress levels. And I just want to put it out there that I'm going on a journey this year to reduce my own anxiety levels, to change the way that my year pans out. And I want to talk to you about the 7 things that I'm going to do this year that I'm going to spend a little bit more time focusing on. And some of these things are things that I've done over the past 5 years as well to alleviate that big A word, anxiety, and help try and get my life back on track. So let's dive on in. Let's have a little bit of a look at what these 7 things are and unpack them. And I hope that today in this episode, 1 or 2 of these things might just be something that makes a little bit of a difference in your world in 2021. So let's dive on in. Now, as we get into this topic today, I want to just put it out there that whether you're a mom, you're a dad, you're a single parent, maybe you are somebody who doesn't even have kids, maybe you've got fur babies, you might be in business, you might not be, maybe you're thinking about moving into a direct selling business, or perhaps you're a leader. It doesn't actually matter where you are in life. People suffer from anxiety from all walks, all genders, all ages. I'm fully aware of that. I want to speak to you though today from my experience. Now, when I went into business 5 or 6 years ago, I was already a workaholic. I had given everything I had in every job I'd ever had previously, from the direct selling businesses I had as a teen into my early 20s. When I went into the world of employment and corporate and I worked for other people, I was an absolute workaholic. I would work more hours than I ever had to work because I felt that the work that I put out was a direct reflection on my self-worth, my value, and how I was perceived by the rest of the world. It's taken a really long time for me to get it into my head that the way that the rest of the world perceives me doesn't make or break who I am as a person. And I should stop striving for that perfection. I know some of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about right now because you do the same thing. So this is a lifelong journey. It's not something you can click your fingers and change overnight. But what I do want to say is that when you go into business, suddenly you've got this whole new world of stress that you never knew existed. From needing to be responsible for the people that work for you, knowing that you have to always be bringing in income to support yourself, to support maybe your family, to support people that you employ, and then all of the things that go with that, from paying taxes to accounting to bookwork, all of, even having to reach for goals. All of these things can both bring joy, but also bring unbelievable amounts of stress. Now, in the climate that we're in right now, from 2020 through to 2021, and I'm sure that this will continue on through into the coming years as well. I hate to say it, but I don't think things are going to change in the world around us overnight, and I definitely don't think they're going to go back to normal. But what I do know to be true is that we have got full control over what stresses we choose to take on. Now, it's not as simple as saying, I'm just not going to take that stress on. I get that. But I do know that our health is directly related to the amount of stress and anxiety that we take on. And sometimes it can really get away from us. So I want to talk through 7 things today that I know have helped me. They will continue to help me, but they've also helped many people around me as well that I've had really amazing relationships with. And some of these things I'm borrowing from some very great friends of mine that I know have been through this very same battle. So I'm going to start with the first one, which really covers personal life and business life. And this is what matters to you the most. What actually really matters to you? Now, the reason that this one is so important is because in the world of stress, we tend to forget about what actually matters. Now, I'm going to just kind of unpack this one for a second because there's a few things that can really help with this. The first is, and I know that this is a little bit of an advanced thing that many people out there haven't had the opportunity to do. I've been very blessed to have done some amazing personal development that has helped me with this process, but you certainly don't need to make this a really big deal. It could be really simple, but something that's really helped me in this space is to write a personal mission statement. Now, this is something that I love to sit down and read every day. Now, that might sound like a little bit of overkill, but I really believe in the power of manifestation. And I also believe that when we focus on those things that bring us joy, that excite us in our dreams in life, suddenly life seems so much more great. And so writing out a little personal mission statement that includes where you would love to see yourself go in life. This can include your career, your family, your personal life. Writing down some of the things that bring you the most joy in your world is a really great way to change your focus, because I know for a fact that where your energy goes, energy flows. And if you focus all of your time on the things that aren't going right in your world, what do you attract more of? You attract more of the things that aren't going right. And I think we all know this to be true. When you really think about it and you sit down and you go, why does all this stuff keep happening? It's probably because we're so focused on the stuff that keeps happening instead of stopping to think about those things in life that we want to attract more of. Over the course of Christmas break, I got the opportunity to sit down and watch a really awesome movie. If you haven't seen this yet, more of a documentary on The Secret, the book, The Secret. I really enjoyed this because it was a really great little summary of the power of manifestation. I love that in that documentary, we had people from all different cultures, all different places within life, lots of different professionals all speaking about the same thing in the same way. This may not be for you, but if you're interested in this stuff, I highly recommend you get in and watch that. If nothing else, just be hungry for knowledge, because knowledge is power. And I think it's really great to sit down and see, are we really attracting some of these really challenging things that are going on in our world? Am I attracting more anxiety, or am I attracting the things that bring me the most joy in my world? So that's just one thing. I love to read my mission statement. Doesn't have to be really complex, but just jotting down some of the things that you want to aim towards, some of your dreams and the things that bring you joy. I also think there's a lot of value in knowing what truly matters to you in this world. So the things that you personally value. Now, we tend to take on the values of people around us in life because we think that we need to throw our own stuff away in order to fit in with the world. What happens when we do that is we stop doing the things that bring us joy. So understanding what brings you value and finding ways to allow space in your life for those things. For example, one of the things that is a value for me is travel. I love travel. Now, I know that in the world that we're in right now, that's a little difficult. So how else can I bring travel into my world? Well, travel doesn't have to mean hopping on a plane and going for a flight somewhere. Travel could be, in fact, chatting with a friend on Zoom and having them walk me around where they're at and pretending I'm right there with them. Or it could be hopping in a car and going for a drive to somewhere that I haven't been before and exploring something that I haven't seen. or, going for a trip somewhere locally, maybe even something as simple as going for a walk and a picnic somewhere. There are lots of ways that I know I can fulfill that value for myself without it becoming something that's a problem for my family and friends, and without having to sit here and go, you know what, the world's not letting me do this thing that's important to me right now. Woe is me. So find some ways to allow yourself to do the things that you value. And even if your partner in life, because this is where I know I've gone really wrong in the past, if your partner in life doesn't share that same value, it doesn't mean you give the value up. So for example, I love to camp in tents. Greg, not so much. Greg is a glamper. He loves to camp in caravans, which to me is not camping. And although it's fun, it's great fun, it's a totally different concept. So how can I have my value met to camp in tents? Do I give that value up because Greg simply doesn't share that same value? Definitely not. There are lots of ways that I can incorporate that same value into my world without it becoming a burden for him and without me completely giving it up. So maybe there's some values for you that you can claw back, because I can promise you that when you do the things that really matter most to you in your heart, in your soul, those things are going to bring you more joy in the coming years as we go into this crazy new season that we're in. So don't give up on your values. Another thing that I just want to throw in before I move on to the next thing here is, in your business and in your work, consider this question when you're doing certain tasks. Often I find that if my energy has dropped and I'm feeling really and I'm sitting in the office and I'm doing work, I'll stop myself and think, what is it of these tasks that I'm doing right now? What is it in these tasks that is bringing me joy or is not bringing me joy? And if there is a task that I'm doing day in, day out that is not bringing me joy, is there a way that I can offload that task, delegate it, give it to somebody else who it will bring joy to? Or can I find a way to make this task easier, simpler, or more fun? The reason I say this is because we often don't acknowledge the fact that we're losing energy to certain things because we assume we have to do them. And it tends to bring our whole world down. What I mean by this is, for example, I'm not a numbers person. I don't love doing the numbers paperwork in my business. When it comes to accounting and tax and all of that stuff, it really reduces my energy levels, so that when I go to do the things that I do love doing in the business, I find that my energy levels have dropped and I'm not enjoying them as much. Yet some of the things I love doing are recording podcasts, doing training, coaching people, working one-on-one with people, speaking at events. So the question I've got to ask myself is, how can I find space to do more of the things I love that lift my energy levels and less of the things that I don't enjoy? It doesn't mean don't do them, because that's irresponsible, but there are always ways around. Now, it might look different for you. I'd love you to reach out and tell us, reach out to us on Facebook and say, hey, you know what? I've actually got a task I don't love doing in my business right now, but I don't know what to do with this task. It's still got to get done. So let's help brainstorm. Let's talk about it together and see how we can help you bring more joy to your business. So just remember, the things that lift your energy are going to help you have more joy in your business, have more joy in your personal life, have more joy in your relationships. Just be conscious of the things that are dipping your energy levels. Sometimes the things that dip your energy levels are actually people. So also consider, if you leave a conversation or an interaction with a particular person and every time you leave them, you feel like your energy has been sapped, it's probably a really good indication that that person maybe is not a person that you should be spending huge amounts of time with. And think about the people that lift your energy levels. Who do you hang out with that every time you meet with them or speak with them, your energy levels are raised? Consider how you can spend more time with those people. That's always a really big positive. Okay, so number 2 is a really big one I've spoken about a little bit recently, and this is taking time for yourself. A really great way to reduce anxiety levels is to remove the humans from your world. And I don't mean that as a permanent thing. I just mean every now and again, solitude is so important. Now, whether this is while you're working, whether this is when you have time off, one thing that I have learned over the last few years is that the time that I recoup the most amount of energy for myself to pick myself back up are the times where I go and spend time alone. But I find for me, this generally needs to be unplanned time. I'm a planner. I love to have everything nutted out. If I'm going to have a day off, I want to know what my schedule is. And I often find that what happens, and I'm sure some of you can relate to this, is I get to the end of a day off and I feel like all I did was run around like mad and I was super busy and it was probably just as stressful as being at work all day. So, how can you take some time where you don't plan, where you let the day kind of take hold of you? Now, that can be a little scary if you're a planner like me, but I promise you, just try it, even if it's just for a few hours. Let yourself do just what it is that brings you joy in that moment. So, let's say you're going to have half of Thursday off. You get up on Thursday morning, maybe you take the kids to school or whatever it is that you have to do, but then you come home and you think, I could do anything in this moment. What do I want to do? Maybe you want to read a book. Maybe you want to take a bath, go for a walk, listen to some music and dance in your lounge room. Perhaps you want to get creative and create something, cook, whatever that might look like for you. Take a little bit of time unplanned by yourself where you don't have to be making conversation. You don't have to be present for anybody else but yourself. Trust me, this is probably one of the most powerful anxiety-reducing activities I've ever done, and I'm going to be spending a lot more time in 2021 making sure that I give myself some of that unplanned time just for Sam. And I'd love to hear how you go with that too if you decide to give that a little go. Okay. Ready for number 3? Number 3 is one that's going to make some of you cringe, but this is one of the things that has totally turned my world around over the last few years, and that is exercise. Eek. I know a few of you just went, what? Don't. I already felt bad enough about that. Here's the thing. When we exercise, a little bit of a science lesson, your body releases endorphins, that feel-good chemical that makes you feel great. Now, exercise for that reason can become addictive, but I just want to throw it out there. This doesn't have to be something that is a burden. I would encourage you to find a way to make exercise something you love to do. Incorporate it into one of those things that you really value. Here's how I've done this. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a little story. When just before I first started the business, probably about a year before, I'd gone through a pretty major overhaul in my life. I had a bit of a Mack truck moment. A whole load of things happened for me. At that point in time, had not been spending time looking after myself. I'd been more focused on the world around me, pleasing people, being a mum, being a wife, all of that stuff, and I wasn't taking care of myself. I was about 20 kilos overweight, close to 100 kilos at that point in time. I had a small baby and I was as unhealthy as I could have been. I was so adverse to doing any exercise. In fact, if you said the word, I nearly broke down in tears because I just didn't want to go there. I didn't like the idea of it. I didn't enjoy it. And I couldn't imagine myself even knowing where to start with it. It just felt like this thing that had yo-yoed through my whole life that felt like a guilt thing rather than an enjoyment thing. So what I decided to do was, without exercise being the main goal, I wanted to spend some time by myself, some solitude time. And the only way I could get that, because I had a small baby at the time, was I love listening to music without anyone interrupting me. I also had a baby that needed to sleep. So what I started doing was putting my headphones on, listening to music that lifted my soul, and going for a walk. Now, what happened over a very short space of time was I noticed that because I enjoyed this so much, I was doing it more regularly. And it got to the point where I was going for a walk every day for Levi's afternoon nap, listening to my music and coming back and feeling so lifted up and endorphins flowing. I'd been out in the fresh air, in the sunshine or the rain, whatever Tasmania brought me that day, that I was feeling so great. I came back and I just wanted more. So I started doing some other things. I started booking in a personal training session where, again, I would take Levi in his pram. As he grew up, he would sit there in the gym. It was in the middle of the day. I just found a way to do something that worked for me at that point in time. The reason I love doing the personal training sessions, and this is great if you can afford it, I understand for some people that's not so easy to do. In fact, I really did struggle at that point in time to afford it, but the joy it brought me and the value that I could see in myself starting to get healthy and fit and how much that reduced the anxiety levels just for me, I could see the value in that. And again, that's something that you need to weigh up. But it was huge for me because I couldn't make an excuse not to show up. I had a personal trainer waiting for me at the other end. I needed to rock up. I went, I did it, and it totally changed my world. Now, what happened over time was I incorporated when I met Greg and, things in my world started to change. We actually started to incorporate exercise as part of our together time. So what we do now and have done ever since we first met was Greg and I see a personal trainer once a week and we split the session between the two of us. So it becomes half the price because we're doing the session together, but it's kind of like healthy date time. Now, the cool part with that is we also had an opportunity to bring the kids along with us and they would, sit in the gym and they would take part with us at, various different points, but they would watch. And the kids have grown up seeing us do something that is healthy together. We now, as the kids are a little bit older, do gym classes with them as well. So every Monday, Zara and I go to the gym, we do a gym class together. Every Wednesday, Greg and I still do our personal training and the kids sometimes join us there. Now, these are just some of the things that we do, but I can tell you that incorporating exercise into our life has totally changed things for us as an entire family. But I definitely notice the times when I don't do exercise, how much the stress overtakes my world and how grumpy I tend to feel. In fact, it's got to the point where Greg and I both know to call each other out when we're getting a little bit testy, a little bit grumpy. We can ask each other, when's the last time you did some exercise? And almost every time the answer will be more than 3 days ago. We know that it's time to get out and move our bodies. And I just seriously, guys, if you've not tried this, if you're not someone who does much exercise, just get out and give it a go. Go for a little walk and see how you feel afterwards. Because this one I will 100% guarantee will make a massive difference to stress levels. Plus, you'll feel great. You'll get yourself into shape if it's something that you want to do. And who doesn't feel great when you start to get yourself into shape? Definitely a winner for many different reasons. But if you can find a way to do it with somebody, whether it's personal training, whether it's your partner, whether it's going for a walk with your family, find a way to incorporate it into your social life as well. It's highly worthwhile. Okay, number 4, I'm going to keep this one quick, but I just want to throw this one out there because I'm speaking to myself as much as to all of you guys. I highly recommend that when you're eating, you are stopping yourself and you're asking yourself the question, am I eating because I need to eat or am I eating for stress? If you're like me, when you get stressed, you eat. And that's often a really bad idea because the things that you eat are generally not going to be the healthy things. Certainly when I'm feeling stressed, I'm not reaching for the fruit bowl. So I like to stop and ask myself the question, am I eating for stress right now or am I eating because I'm fueling my body? Often I get the other little voice in my head that will tell me, have it anyway, but at least I'm being a bit conscious about it because this is definitely a big crunch point for me. It's one of those big struggle street things for me. So I just want to throw this one out there where you can stop and ask yourself the question because sometimes being conscious about it makes all the difference and you can then pause yourself if you need to. Another thing I do as a little bit of a side note, when I do get to that point, I'm feeling a bit stressed and I ask myself that question, I go, yep, I actually am eating for stress right now. If I still want to have whatever it is that I'm thinking of having, one thing that I will do first is go and scull a big glass of water because sometimes it's just enough to fill my belly so that I don't want to go for it and I will wait for my next mealtime. Just want to throw that one out there because I've never, ever found that eating for stress leaves me feeling good afterwards. Usually the stress levels or anxiety levels are worse because now I'm feeling bad about it as well. So don't eat for stress. If you can avoid it, try and be a little bit conscious and ask yourself, question yourself, interview yourself, and get conscious about your actions. Like I said, I'm speaking to myself as much as everybody else out there, but I'm just hoping that some of these little challenges maybe I know that when I hear people speak about the things that they're going through, it often lets me stop and go, hang on a sec. I'm not the only one experiencing this. I feel good to know that I'm not alone. So I just want to say this, guys, that you're not alone. If that's you, I totally get it, but let's do it together. All right. Number 5, I've definitely spoken about this one a lot, but this is huge for anxiety and stress, and that is try to have some tech-free time. Now, I say this because, hey, I am teaching you guys how to do social media. We're in a technology-fueled world. And I so often catch myself feeling, particularly at night, I might be in the kitchen, the kids are having dinner, where, I'm cooking, I'm racing around the kitchen, and I catch myself on my phone, looking at notifications, answering work messages, checking my emails, and I'm feeling flustered at that time. And often I stop and I go, hang on a second, what am I doing? I'm not present for my kids. It's nighttime. I'm not relaxing at home. Do I even know what I'm doing right now? And of course, I'm super stressed. Am I the best for the people that I'm responding to on social media or on email? Am I the best for my kids? Am I giving myself time? The answer to all of that is a big fat no. So I know that when I get home, I need to find some tech-free time. And it was really interesting. Over the Christmas break, I made a point of saying I'm going to spend less time on technology, which I really did. I had a huge concerted effort to not work over that period. And it was really amazing because at the end of that time, we actually had to have a word to our kids because the reverse happened for them. They weren't at school and they wanted to be on technology all of the time. And we were trying to manage this. It was a real challenge because they wanted to play games. And a couple of our older kids are now using a little bit of social media, which that's another challenge to navigate in itself. And we had to sit our kids down and say, we've noticed that some of you guys are making a lot of mistakes lately. You're also getting particularly grumpy when we're seeing you on technology for long periods of time. And then I said to one of my kids, I know you guys probably haven't noticed this, but I've actually been spending more time with you guys and I've been away from technology over this period. And all four of them said, we've all noticed. We've all noticed that you haven't been on your phone and we've really loved it. And that was a huge wake-up call to me that here I was thinking that I'm the only one that's picking up on this. My kids have actually consciously paid attention to the fact that I have got my nose in my phone often when I'm at work. And so it's changed how present I am with them. It's also changing my mood, my stress levels, etc. And they've noticed all of that. So find yourself some tech-free time. The way that I go about doing this is we've got a rule where after 8:00 at night, it used to be 9:00, I've moved it earlier, 8:00 at night, no tech. My phone goes on to airplane mode and it lives in my lounge room, not in my bedroom. Don't open my laptop at home unless it's an emergency. And even then, it's got to be really serious for me to open it because I know that the second the laptop gets opened, I'm going to be there for hours because I tend to be unable to tear myself away. So what can you put in place to help you have some of that tech-free time to be awake and away from technology, breathing some fresh air, speaking to your family, and most importantly, being with yourself without technology overruling your life? Because let's face it, it is a huge part of our everyday. If you're already doing this, good on you. If you're not, maybe it's just one of those little tiny things that you can aim to work towards for this year. Okay, number 6. When you are sweating the small stuff, sometimes it doesn't seem so small. So let's just say you are going through major anxiety over something. There's some stress happening in your world right now, and it's really, really overtaking your thinking and if you're like me, when something gets super stressful or there's maybe something someone's done or something that you've done, I tend to annoy myself more than anything else. So I'll be annoyed at something I've done. It might be something I've said. It might be an action that I took. It might be that I'm stressed about the outcome of something that I'm working really hard towards. And often that stress can overtake every other aspect of my life, from the way I speak to Greg, to the way I am with my kids, to my sleep, everything. Eating, we've talked about that. All of these things get taken over by the stress over something that may actually be relatively small. So number 6, I just want to throw out there, this can be a little hard to do, but when you get to that point, if you're a little like me and you recognize that this is a little bit of a pattern for you, I like to try and stop myself when I get to that point and consider if this thing that is taking over my world right now is going to matter in the big picture. Now, let me just put this into context. Let's just say that I had a little argument with a friend, somebody, we've had a disagreement, and I hate not pleasing people. I hate it when things like that happen. It overtakes my world when I feel like maybe they've got upset at something I've said, and, you replay all the words in your head over and over again. You think about how you could have done things differently. If that's you, you know that tiny little something can overtake everything, right? So here's what I know often happens. Often I've blown something up in my head that is not such a big deal. I think it's huge, but it's not such a big deal. And you know what I mean? Because you'll get to the point where maybe a week down the track, you say something to that person to try and rectify the situation, and they didn't even know there was a problem in the first place. So one of the habits I'm trying to get into, and again, this has been a life journey, but I'm getting a little better at it, is that when I find myself in one of those really stressful places, I stop myself and I ask myself the question, do I think this is still going to be an issue in a year's time? Or in the big scheme of things, in comparison to something else that's going on in the world or with my family or in life, is this thing going to really matter in the big picture? And often the answer to that question is no. Do I still think it's going to be a problem in a year? Usually the answer is no. And sometimes it's just kind of comparing it to the world around, comparing it to the big picture, comparing it to the rest of my life. Because usually when that anxiety is taking over a particular thing that's going on, I'm looking at it thinking that that is the only thing. And that is taking over. So how can I, incorporate the rest of the world, the rest of my life, maybe even look at a timeline and think about, does this thing really matter in the big scheme of things? Now, this one also kind of works into the final thing that I'm going to talk about today, which is my number 7 when it comes to stress and anxiety, and that is picturing your goals. Now, this one brings a lot of joy when you take the time to do it. If you're a little like me and you don't like sitting still, this one can be a hard one to get into the habit of doing. But when you do, man, oh man, is it powerful. This is where you actually stop and you imagine, you picture and you envision your goals, the things that really matter to you, and your dreams. Now, I don't mean just picture them. I don't mean just sit there and kind of think, oh, yeah, one day I'm going to have that car or I'm going to go on that holiday. I mean, actually close your eyes, maybe even put on some motivational music. I've got a little playlist I call my motivational playlist. And this is a lot of even overtures from movies and things that you relate to. So there's no words to process, but you can play them in the background. And I will sit there and actually imagine myself doing that thing. So for example, one of my dream holidays on my list of to-dos is to go to Greece. Haven't been to Greece before, but I can't wait one day to hop on a boat, cruise out in the beautiful blue water there, eat the amazing food, go for walks, see some of the landmarks. I want to go to Greece and have an amazing time. But I don't just kind of sit here and talk about it. I actually take the time to stop, close my eyes and imagine myself doing it. Imagine myself lying, in the sun on a sandy beach, going for a walk through the amazing buildings and looking at the amazing places. I've even, check out some of the websites and have a look at some of the landmarks I might go to. So it's easier to picture and imagine this. And I imagine myself doing it. Now, why is this powerful? Well, number one, because I'm putting my focus on something that brings me joy. This could be as simple as imagining yourself, driving the car that you would love to be driving. Maybe even imagining yourself going on the next camping trip with your family and picturing how you're going to feel, how it's all going to happen for you. This might be a work thing. This might be you picturing and imagining yourself going to one of the reward trips in your company, maybe getting up on stage and accepting an award for being one of the top achievers. Whatever that looks like for you, actually take the time, put some music on, and imagine yourself doing that thing. Now, this one is huge to do, particularly when you are feeling a little stressed, maybe a little overwhelmed, because it takes you to, number one, your values, but it also takes you to a place of joy. And remember what I said at the very beginning, manifestation is really powerful. Imagining yourself doing the things that bring you joy, that get you excited, that lift your energy levels. If you can take the time to do this every now and again, I can promise your energy levels will lift because you're focusing on something that does bring you joy rather than putting your focus on all the negative things going on in the world right now. And let's face it, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of places we can put that negative energy at the moment. So take the time to imagine yourself doing the things that lift your soul, lift your energy levels, make you feel great. I promise you guys, this will make a huge difference to your mental health, your physical health. It'll put a smile on your face. So I just want to throw that one out there. Picture yourself doing the things that you are aiming for. Picture yourself in your dreams. Don't just dream the thing, dream you with the thing or in the thing or doing the thing, whatever the thing is for you. Picture yourself right there as if it's happening right now. So I just want to recap on those 7 things, guys. And again, I hope that this for some of you maybe has spoken to a couple of you. Maybe you've thought, you know what? I'm just really glad to hear that I'm not the only one battling this stuff. This is a lifelong journey, guys. And, in a year's time, I'll be telling you probably a new story about some of the new amazing things that I've learned over this year, perhaps even from some of you. But I just want to throw it out there. There is a lot going on in the world right now that is a very good reason for us to be stressed and anxious, overwhelmed, feeling like there's no way out of this craziness that we're living in. And I get that. But I just want to be really across the fact that we need to be doing this together. This is a journey to do together, and you're not alone. We're all suffering in some way, shape, or form. We all deal with it differently. But I just wanted to throw out there a few of my coping strategies, a few of the things that I've, number one, learned have worked for me, but also I need to spend some more time focusing on this year because we're coming into another year of challenge, another year of growth, which is all good stuff, but it comes with stress. So just to recap, first of all, know what really matters to you. Know what you value and what's important to you, and don't give up on your values for anybody. Find ways to still incorporate them into your world and don't let them be stolen. Don't give them up. Your values are important. They're part of who you are, who you were born to be. So your values do matter, whether it's being able to go for a walk on the beach, being able to travel, whether it's spending time with your family, whether it's craft, whatever that is for you, your values do matter. Don't give them up. Number 2, take time for yourself. And if you can, make it unplanned time so that you can do what brings you joy in that moment and soothes your soul. Number 3, exercise. Find a way to incorporate it that works into your world and that brings you joy. Don't make it a stressful thing. Don't make it a guilt thing. Make it something you can actually have fun doing. There are so many different ways you can incorporate exercise. Guys, whether it's yoga, whether it's meditation, that is still a form of exercise, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's pole dancing, get out and have some fun with it, guys. There are so many ways you can incorporate a bit of exercise into your world. Number 4, don't allow yourself to stress eat. Be conscious about what you're consuming, when and how, and everywhere possible. Of course, I know this goes without saying, but eat as much fresh fruit and veg as you can because this also makes a big difference to your stress levels. Number 5, find some tech-free time, even if it's a few hours a day, maybe at night, not having your phone by your bed, but find some time to be present with yourself and with your family and friends. Number 6, consider if there's something that's overtaking your world right now. Will it matter in the big picture? Will it matter in a year's time? Does it matter to the world around you? Or are you sweating the small stuff right now? And number 7, picture yourself in your dreams. Imagine yourself achieving the greatest things that you want to achieve in life. Imagine yourself driving your dream car or going on your dream holiday or living in your dream home or having your dream family or accepting an amazing award or whatever that looks like for you. It might simply be wearing an outfit that you've been dreaming of buying for yourself or going for a facial or a massage, but stop and picture yourself doing those things. Guys, I hope that today has been a little bit helpful for some of you. My wish for all of you going into this year is that you will have an amazing year, both in business, in your personal life, in your family life, and within yourself. I'm really excited about what this year is going to bring for us, for Greg and I, for our family, for our business, and for myself. But what I do know to be true for me and for you is that we are 100% in control of how this year goes. So let's take this year by the horns and let's make it amazing together. I can't wait. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Have an amazing week, guys. Look after yourselves and bye for now.